Welcome to the Arc Reactors. I'm John,
I'm Greg.
and we're here on the brink of a three-peat. Don't say we didn't warn you. Here we are on week 8 of the amazing race, heading to Slovenia. Here to break it down. Let's get started. We're starting off in Germany, where we had what felt like a mega leg going out of India, getting to Frankfurt, getting to Cologne, and just going from there. So we rip our clue. It says we're going to Slovenia. Gregory, I'm so sorry you had to say that capital name because we don't know the first darn thing about Slovenia. And I know it must have been tough to see that Ljubljana on first sight.
Yes, and I remember having to pronounce it and knowing I was going to butcher it, but it actually wasn't as bad as I remembered. It was pretty
It wasn't
decent.
as bad as I either.
Like
Yeah.
ripping it and really trying it for the first time.
It was pretty good. Not gonna lie. It always feels worse on camera, I guess.
Yeah, it feels worse when you're saying and you're like, I could be way off on that. But yeah, but it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Hopefully we didn't put too much shame on Slovenia. But we ripped that, found out we were heading there. We went to a travel agency to get our tickets, but we got to choose, it was like kind of old amazing race. It's not just like we're all on the same flight. It's like here's an earlier flight, here's a later flight. So we saw there were only 2 seats left on the 4 p.m. So we were able to snag that. However, we saw that there was an earlier flight at like 1:40, which meant that we had to get to the airport in like 3 hours, but it was a 2-hour drive to Frankfurt. And we were just like, you know what? We've been cooking with gas up to now. Let's give it another go. And got in the car and tried to like really zip our way to Frankfurt to try to hit this flight. But it was really nice because we got to actually use navigation on the way there because it was kind of just like this like route. I think the race just wanted us to get through. We got to turn on some music, have some route navigation. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. Yeah, the navigation was nice, especially not having navigation for quite some time. And it wouldn't have really helped us at all anyway. Like someone gets lost on the way there. It doesn't really matter all that much. Like we're all going to be on the same, well, not all going to be on the same flight, but like your flight's already picked. Like you're just going to be lost just to be lost. Like it doesn't add any drama. So it was nice having navigation.
Drama. Although I will say, I don't think Steve and Natalie used navigation. I don't think they read the clue to say that.
Show up at the airport. Really pumped. I remember you didn't think we were going to make it, but we were cutting it close in order to get to the flight because this flight, if we had gotten the flight that was original, or if we had gotten the flight that was as early as possible, we would have gotten in, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hours before even any of the next teams could possibly even imagine. So we would have had first place in the bag. So we sprinted through the airport to try to get to this flight. And we were pushing, not pushing people over, but we were going pretty fast. And we show up to the ticket counter and we made it. We made the flight. It was fully open. They had not closed the gates. We were so amped, but there were no standby seats, which was a dagger to the heart. We had made the trip. We got there, but no standby seats.
Yeah, that was so frustrating. And the hard thing was like, while we were trying to negotiate with them, there was another like mother-daughter that came up and they were like, you're just on time. You're fine. And then I think they were also standby or they were coming off of another flight. I forget what it was, but it seemed like they didn't say nobody else is allowed on this plane. They were welcoming new people after us. So I was like, can you go back on this plane and just make sure there aren't like 2 seats? They don't have to be together. They could be separated. So pretty bummer that we didn't get that. And then on top of that, we had 2 teams get off the standby for our flight. Rob and Corey, Todd and Ashley. Stephen and Lee were also on that standby list, but they didn't make the cut. Robin and Chelsea, poor Robin and Chelsea, I don't think they even knew about the standby. They like waltzed their way over to the gate, nice and close to the check-in. So by that point, there was no space left. And
But I don't think they would have gotten it anyway because they were behind Stephen and
Lee. They were
Lee.
Second. They were after us at the ticket agency. If they had known to just go for it, they could have gotten to the airport and bumped down Rob and Corey and Todd and Ashley. So it's a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. The game. So yeah.
Yeah, and at the end of the day too, I guess it didn't even matter. We all ended up on the same plane anyway. But yeah, I mean, we can talk quickly through. I mean, it was a whole saga to get to Ljubljana. In terms, it was just a lot of trains, a lot of missed connections, just a whole saga. Let's do it semi briefly because getting in, we can give you a lot of details. It was definitely the most frustrating part of the race for me so far. It was even though we were in first place, it was the lowest I felt because things just were not working out for us like how we wanted them to. So yeah, we can walk through a little bit of what our train experience was.
Yeah, so we had gotten off the flight in Vienna. We had to take a train to the main train station. And then from there, we kind of knew what the game plan was, which was to, yeah, take that connection in Graz and go from there. And we saw our train start to tick away a little bit, and you saw that. But it wasn't until we got on the train and then literally train started taking off that it just jumped in delay. It went from like a 2 minute delay to like a 12-minute delay as soon as the train had any momentum. And so then we were like, okay, now we're on a moving train and we have to make this decision. You were kind of down to risk it for the biscuit, which I really appreciated.
Well, because if we had gotten in there, if we had made the train, easy first place that round, easy first place. But I am appreciative of the group not necessarily wanting to risk it because I mean, if we didn't, then we'd all be fighting for last. Like us, Todd Ashley, Rob Corey, we would be fighting
Mm-hmm.
for last.
This was a pretty pricey detour. We spent a pretty penny on just like train tickets going back and forth, like maybe thousands of dollars, I think, at that point, just for all of us. And, the camera people, the audio people. And I remember when we found out we were getting delayed, I like went to the conductor and was trying to ask, like, okay, what are the odds that this next train also gets delayed? I grabbed some guy's laptop and was trying to find alternative routes, but again, like Rob Corey, Todd Ashley, they just weren't feeling it. And then it was going to be us as lone wolves. Um, I think as the episode turns out, we made an okay call, but it's like we said at the beginning of the episode too. We have good communication and we're making good game time decisions. Just like with the information that we have, we're doing the best we can, and I think we did.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And Johnny's very good at this kind of stuff. So that's part of the reason why I really wanted it to pan out because coming into the race, we felt like that was one of our biggest strengths is like our ability to travel and Johnny so the way that Johnny can like find different flights and make connections really quickly is definitely one of our advantages. So this was the time to use it. This was the time where it would come in most handy. And we used it, but it just didn't pan out. So
Yeah,
happens,
didn't pan out.
happens, happens. It's luck. Everything worked out at the end, but just a little frustrating in the moment.
Just a little frustrating. If anyone tells you European trains are on time, don't believe them. This is proof. So they're just like us. Yeah. So
Yeah.
then we end up with our like tails between our legs, getting back to Vienna. We're with everybody else. Almost missed that train too. We were like eating some schnitzel or something. We barely made that, but ended up on the train with everybody else. Had to transfer like 2 a.m. in Salzburg to another sleeper train. That was terrible sleep. Like you imagine sleeper train, you've seen them on the race before. You have like beds and they're layered. They're small, but they're at least like you can lie down. We were literally in chairs like Harry Potter Hogwarts Express style, just like this kind of sleep, just your neck just pouring one side or the other. It was tough. You had a middle seat.
It, yeah, it was ridiculous. It was not a sleeper card at all. In fact, it was quite worse than maybe like a non-sleeper car. Like I'd much rather sleep on a plane or a car or literally anything else than that like 90-degree angle seat that was freezing the entire time. Like it was it was tough. It was really tough. So not a lot of people we didn't get a lot of sleep that night ish. Yeah, because we were like traveling throughout a lot of it, and then this train was theoretically like 4, 5, 6 hours, so we could have gotten sleep, but nobody was comfy. Nobody was comfy. So this next leg, the caffeine definitely took us.
Yeah, caffeine took us. We were trying to find coffee on that train right before we took off. I remember, and yeah, so we roll up into Leblania, and like it's a frenzy when we're coming down those stairs from the station. We don't know where the clue is. It's like we kind of just veer left, just hoping that's the front of the station. So a lot of chaos, at least mentally, with the teams there. But we find the clue box, make our way to our cars, get our directions, start driving. Beautiful, stunning. Like just driving to the airfield, you realize, oh, Slovenia's like that. This is
Yeah,
good. I can rock
and
with this.
especially since I mean, at least my assumptions coming in was that it was going to be like an Eastern European country, which not saying that they're not beautiful, but not necessarily like that's what they'd be known for. This place was gorgeous. I mean, those mountains were incredible. So it was good. It was a
Mm-hmm.
good entry. It was a good entry.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you saw it on TV, folks. It felt like a like an ad for the country, but they deserve it. It just comes off that way.
Mhm.
Uh, we made our way through. When we get to the roadblock, we see planes, and I think on first pass, you and I thought it was going to be a heights challenge, and I was like, "Oh, well, Greggy's done his heights at the first episode. I'll do this one." We open it up. It's a vision challenge, and I have notoriously bad eyesight, and I'm like, "Fudge, Gregory should have done this one."
Johnny
But say
Johnny
what,
has
we kind of have to.
Johnny goes through life with his sense of smell. He'll like smell things, and I think his sense of smell is better because his eyes are so poor. So we were a little disappointed to see that.
Yeah. And you got to see other teams kind of struggle with this too. Not only is it tough for me to see, but also just using binoculars as a whole. Like if you're going on the race, learn how to use binoculars. Learn how to use a monocle. Like there are some things that I think for vision's sake, they'll just throw at you. And when you're up there, it is, of course, drop dead gorgeous. Like definitely one of the highlights of the race for me. It just keeps getting better with this stuff. But then when you get over the lake, Lake Bled, you're looking down through the binoculars, and it's so tough to see anything. I'm like trying to keep my hands from shaking, but even right now, I'm trying to keep it as still as possible. They're still shaking, and that like micro movement causes complete blurriness. Can't see a darn thing on those boats. I'm about to cry because I'm like, I'm about to fail this. There's no way I can see this. I'm gonna have to take the penalty for Gregory. He's gonna hate this. And then we go down and circle around one more time. And I'm like, okay, now we're a little closer. Now the binoculars are working. So a little bit of a heart attack there, but was able to see it. I get Garrett's 11.99 though. Like you see it and the arrow, you're kind of like, which way? This way or that way? Because it can really go either way. Granted, there was a lot of like activity going on Eastern Europe in the 90s. So I think that's why I put 1991. But shoo, like it really could have gone either way. Honestly, I'm gonna be
Yeah, could
honest.
have gone really could have gone either way. I think I likely would have done 1919. Like just out of like realistically, I would have done 1990. 1991. That seems very recent. I don't know if I would have gotten that one. So we ended up picking the right person because I would have messed up on that one probably.
Worked out, and I feel it for everyone who didn't get it. But then even after we get it and we start asking for directions, we can see Robin and Chelsea chilling in their car, just waiting for us before we take off. Which I think that was when I was like, oh, they're not even trying at this point. They're just literally waiting for us.
Yeah. They're waiting for us. And I remember every time that we saw them, we try to move pretty quickly. Like especially after. Oh well, I guess that's later in the leg. But yeah, later in the leg during the ski challenge, which we'll get to. We'll get to eventually. But yeah, I like as soon as we see them behind us, we're like, okay, we gotta go because we know that they're gonna follow us for the rest of the time. But
Yeah.
so then we pull up to the Nordic Ski Center, and I mean, really nice actually. I mean, Johnny and I, ski and snowboard, so it's nice to be in that area. Uh, yeah, which I definitely want to go back to Slovenia to go snowboarding. It seems like a sick place to go to do the snow
Easy.
sports. But we pull up,
Easy.
open up the clue, see that there's a like a route info and then also an express pass. And we didn't see anybody else there originally, so we were thinking, okay, we're definitely going to at least give it a shot, see who's there. It's a little bit different than the first express pass because the first express pass we were able to ask people before even trying, like, oh, it's express pass done, and people were able to tell us. But we show up to the express pass, we run up, and like in I did call out Rob in that time. I was like, okay, I know we could beat Rob, which I mean, I think we definitely could if it was just like a one-on-one race. Like I'm pretty sure we could beat Rob in that situation. Corey, I don't think so. I think Corey's probably definitely faster than me. But just stairs, Johnny and I are in pretty good shape, so definitely thought that we could do it.
Yeah, and then we started heading up, and I'm telling you, those stairs, they start like this, but it's like an exponential like parabola. It just kind of goes like this, and you start feeling it go steeper and steeper. And I think, at least for me, I like Corey said it on the episode, I didn't know it was going to stop at a certain point, but then also, I just wanted a surefire thing. It was like, if we were going to do this, we have to absolutely know we're going to beat them, because I didn't want a Stephen and Elise story where we get up there, don't have to like wait for Rob and Corey to zip line down, wait for the zip line like holsters to come back up. That's tough. And it's also like we have 2 wins under our belt. What's the third in a row? Like this was our only opportunity for a three-peat. No, that's not forward thinking, but it's what we wanted at the moment. So went down, and again, it worked out. Again, a game time decision with the information that we had. So really had some calls to make this episode.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. And I mean, that was our thought process. Our thought process was, okay, we're either gonna go for the win or go for the express pass. We definitely can't do both. We can't go for the express pass and go for the win, because if we had went for the express pass, Todd Ashley, Robin Chelsea, they would have been way far ahead of us. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with our Namibia constellation for not
Yes.
going for
Yeah.
the
It's a
express
good
pass.
consolation for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then we bail from that and head indoors to the uphill like skiing challenge. And yeah, we can do downhill stuff. Uphill's tough. Like I don't think there's any like elegant way to ski uphill per se. So I had like one little tumble. You were rock steady on that, just kind of going. So we were able to kind of come up with Robin and Chelsea. Thankfully, Ashley was struggling a little bit, so we got to kind of have the two teams rip first. And then at first we chose the beat houses, right? Like I think it made sense that it's kind of more puzzly. We're already kind of tired from the day, and it's like attention to detail. So initially we chose that.
Yeah, yeah. So we chose the beehive, and then we started to think, okay, well, we know we want to go for first. We know that we can definitely do this. We see the two teams ahead of us. By choosing the wrong detour, we've been burned before. And so this time we were thinking, okay, well, Robin Chelsea, we heard them that they were going to do the hay challenge, and Todd and Ashley typically do the physical challenges. So we assumed that they would do the physical challenge in this time as well. So we decided to switch to hay just so we can at least see our competition and know, okay, this is where they're at, and this is where we're at, and this is the amount of time that we need to make up. So it was definitely a decision so that we could just not so we can have as much information as possible as we're going through the challenge instead of not knowing, which is always tough. It
Yeah,
always just adds more stress.
totally. It's like trying to run your fastest mile solo versus trying to run your fastest mile with someone next to you who has a better PR. And it's just going to keep you moving. So it was nice to have them within our eyes. When we got there, though, to the hay, we put on our cute little hats, I put on some sunglasses. We see the farmers, I assume, putting hay on these racks. And it's only like a quarter of the way full. It is not the wall of hay that you saw in the episode. It was like a little sliver. And we're like, all right, well, we'll just grab some hay and fill it up, make it look nice and fluff and cute, and we're on our way. So we're here, Rob and Chelsea over there. We can't really see each other. We're putting the hay on. It's going pretty well. And we ask for a check, and we're denied. And it's looking pretty good. Like the example, I run over to the example. We come back. We look at our clue. We have to do the whole darn thing. We have to do all that hay. Yo, that was so much hay. I remember reading that clue, looking at the hay, and being like, there's just no way. There's just physically not enough space to put this. That was my biggest concern going through that whole exercise. There's physically not enough space to put this hay, unless we want to climb like this year's tower.
Yeah, yeah, and that really was the challenge of that. That was the difficult part of that challenge, was figuring that part out. Because again, like the demonstration did not say or did not show how to fit all that hay on those like four racks that we had. And so after we had started, we started thinking that we only had to do one rack, so we kind of spaced them out. We didn't really care about squeezing them in together. And then by the time that we found out that we had to do all of the hay, we didn't we didn't have enough space, so we were trying to stuff it in there as much as possible. So therefore, when Rob and Corey came up and they asked, like, okay, do we have to stack it up the entire way? That's a huge piece of information to give. That's almost equivalent to like someone coming up and saying like, oh, like what's the, not answer to the puzzle, but something similar to it. So it felt like a little bit too much information to give at that point, because we didn't know at the beginning, and so it would really jump them ahead if we had given them that large piece of information as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, definitely. And then Todd and Ashley also roll up. They noticed to do the whole thing, and I think that really allowed them to pack it in and get through that faster than we did. Also, Rob and Corey had the what I thought was sloppy, but ended up being tactical approach of putting the hay literally just on the floor under. We thought it had to be on one of those racks, but they just got a rake and shoved it. So we did the same, and that's how we got out of there on time. But we were out on third place, and we knew like if we didn't go for that express pass, we could not have Rob and Corey beating us on this leg with an express pass in their pockets. That's too much.
that
Too much.
that and that's part of the that's the big reason too, is that we didn't want to get beat by Robin and Corey, who already took the express pass and win first place. That's OP. That's overpowered. That's too much power
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, they're still pretty goated, but like not on our watch. Like we had to protect our own reputation. But then we get in the car, and that hay was so rough. Like
So
I didn't factor that in. I don't think either of us factored that into the decision that like hay would be that uncomfortable, um, that like all encompassing. You got like allergic reaction in the car, literally with like patches of places to itch. It
yeah,
was
I was just so itchy, and I was the one driving since I was doing the stick shift. And it was just the entire time I was just like itching, and I thought it was going to be like for the rest of the leg, but it started to calm down
yeah.
after a while. Yeah, so the hay is all encompassing. It's in your hair, it's in your clothes, it's on your face, it's in your hay, it's like shoes all over. And even when we got home, like as we were washing our clothes, we kept finding hay, even though we thought we got it all out. So it gets under your skin.
It was everywhere, got under our skin. And we made our way pretty well to the city center, but then it was really hard to find the garage. I think a lot of teams had trouble with that. So made a few wrong turns, ended up finding the skyscraper first. So we were just driving, we are like, wait, that looks like the skyscraper that we're supposed to climb once we park the car. And we had our walking directions from the garage to the skyscraper. So we just like followed that backwards, parked the car, and then did the same trail except on foot. And that's when we got to see Todd and Ashley. And that was pretty hype because we were like, all right, our plan worked. We kept them in sight. We're here with them. And now we just need to like keep up with them on foot if the mat is going to be what's after this challenge.
Yeah,
So that worked out
yeah.
pretty well.
And so we climbed up the infinite amount of stairs. They honestly, I didn't even know they were that high until like until we actually saw it on the show. Because from the bottom, they don't look
Yeah,
terrible, and it's even spiral, so you can't see the whole thing. But seeing it from an aerial view, looking down, that was a lot of stairs, and it was
it was a
impressive
lot of
because
stairs.
Todd was carrying both bags because Ashley, I guess
Mhm.
Ashley gave Todd his bag, so he was doubling it up while Ashley was going up. So I was impressed by Todd. He was moving, and we kind of got there at the same time too. Like they kept up with us. I thought we'd be able to take some lead over them at that, but yeah, they did great.
Yeah, they did great. They kept up with us. So now it's like, all right, we got to make up ground on flat ground when it comes down to it when we get out of here. And I think both teams realize like elevator a little dicey with the rules. We're just always afraid we're going to hit that mat. Have Phil say you are the blank team to arrive. However, and we just played it safe, ran on foot, and it was also helpful that they were doing it too. Like it doesn't help that much if it's the same. So we all come down. We see Todd and Ashley asking for directions. But at the same time, Robin and Chelsea see us. They're in their car and they're asking us where the garage is. And I think we try to tell them like exactly where it is as Todd and Ashley are asking for these directions, but we don't hear what Todd and Ashley hear. So when they start running, we start running. I'm thinking we'll just like jump in front and kind of run blindly, but we see them turn and we're like, okay, well, if they know at least where they're going the first turn, we should do that. And then from there, we're able to kind of jump in front. And then we see like not the dragon bridge, but bridges at least in the waterway. So we're like, all right, let's just hug this waterway and we know we'll hit the bridge eventually. And it just kind of, we just kept running. It was longer than I thought to get there. But we
Yeah,
did end up coming in front. Your backpack also started to unzip, which was like a whole
yeah,
wrench in the thing
yeah.
as
It
well.
was so messy. I don't know what it was. I mean, I tested the backpack out like pretty intensely before the race, but I guess it just kept unzipping from all like the jiggling around, and stuff was just falling out constantly. Like my jacket fell out, then my toiletries fell out. Like I just kept having to go back and pick stuff up, and so there was part of the time I was like, oh, should I just leave it? Because once you leave stuff on the race course, you can't go back and get it. So I was like, do I really need a jacket? But I was like, I don't know what's coming up next. I should really go back and get it. So yeah, definitely slowed us
Yeah.
down, but luckily we were able to pull it off.
Yeah, luckily we were able to have our cake and eat it too, so it worked out pretty well. And then we, yeah, hit the mat literally by seconds with Todd and Ashley, no more than a minute for real. And I know it might seem kind of hypocritical for us to like follow Todd and Ashley, even though we've kind of been ragging on Robin and Chelsea for doing the same thing. But self-driving, there is so much that goes into that, like writing down directions on paper, and there are hour-long drives, 2-hour-long drives. This was like following them on a left. And it's also like do or die, hit the mat. We didn't have time to get our own directions versus like not trying to get directions and then just following a car. So I think we're really solid with our decision. Obviously, we got the benefit out of this and we got our three-peat. We got three-peat. I don't know how many teams have done that in Amazing Race history, but I'm glad to be a part of that circle.
Yeah, yeah. No, it did feel good. It did feel good. Namibia is a big one too. Sometimes, like people win trips to Cape Cod, and you're like, okay, that's cool. Like that's really nice. Like, yeah. But Namibia, I will have never have gone to Namibia if it wasn't for this. So it's
For sure,
great to have
for
it.
sure. Funny enough, the first, second, and third place finishes are the same three teams that were on the train debacle at the beginning of the episode. So it's all water under the bridge now. Whether we made that train or not, we got the same output as what we wanted. So I think that's a little poetic to keep in mind as well.
That really is. Yeah, yeah. That's great. It's great that we all ended up at
Yeah.
the same spot.
But shouts out to our girls, Morgan and Lena. They do not live to see another day. We just got to keep chugging on, staying in Slovenia. Don't give us a lead now. Don't give us a lead now.
Don't give us the lead. Don't do that. Don't do that.
We'll
All
do
right, well,
that.
cool. Yeah, another episode under the belt. We have four episodes left in general, and so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, excited to see what happens.
See what happens. Looking forward to it. Slovenia, day 2. Let's do it.